Okay, class, this is an instruction video for the group on Daniel. I decided to make some of these videos just to help walk you through the course material for this week, and hopefully it will clarify any questions you may have and help, I don't know, make it a little bit easier. Plus, there's so much information that I would love to stand up front and tell you all about, but I know that part of this course is you learning on your own, and I just want to be a guide by your side, kind of helping you do that. So go ahead. Well, I've got this little video here and I've got my screen. This is Daniel. Scroll down to week 15. By the way, your week 14 should be light gray like this. You should have all of these done and complete. If you don't, please don't work on them in class right now. You need to do that for homework. You need to stick with week 15 material in class. So you'll see this is a new one. This is just instructions, and this is where you will find this video that I'm showing you right now. So this is Joshua, but I'm going to take that out. The main thing that we're going to be talking about this week in Daniel is the story of King Nebuchadnezzar and his dream, which Daniel helps interpret. And we're going to look at King Nebuchadnezzar's pride and also kind of look at our own pride. Even though we can take pleasure in our own accomplishments and pride in our own accomplishments, we need to know that it is God working in us and give Him the glory in that. We depend on God for all of our everything we do in our breath, so we need to give Him the glory. The first half of the book of Daniel contains many examples of God's power being revealed to the Gentiles, and so hopefully you saw that in last week's reading. You read Jeremiah 29 as well as the first 3 chapters of Daniel, so you should be done with those. Just a short little recap. Let me put Daniel in here. Daniel 1. And if I'm going to breeze through reading or read fairly quick, I usually use the New Living Translation because it's real easy to understand. So this is Daniel in Nebuchadnezzar's court. You read this, learning about these 4 young men that were chosen from the tribe of Judah and how God used them. They really had a strong friendship, and God used them a lot to accomplish His purposes. And then we've got Nebuchadnezzar's dream, this first one that you read last week, and then this golden statue one, and the blazing furnace, when they didn't want to, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to bow down and worship the God that Nebuchadnezzar wanted them to worship, and said that we will only worship Yahweh, and so they threw them into the fiery furnace, but they did not get burned up. So here we are in Daniel chapter 4, and what you're going to be reading this week is Daniel 4 through 7. See right here? Oh, I did not mean to take that out of order. Daniel chapter 4 through 7. We see that in Daniel 4, Nebuchadnezzar has this crazy dream, and it serves as a warning of sin and judgment. But we also see God's mercy coming through this. Nebuchadnezzar was warned of what not to do. All right, that's key. He was warned what not to do. What would happen if he did not humble himself before God. And then this judgment was, in his dream, was eventually fulfilled. And it was a very humbling experience for King Nebuchadnezzar. And so he came to understand that the true place before God was through God's intervention in his own life, and did come to know God. When this is really important, well, let me first tell you what your memory verse is. It's Daniel 7:27, which is one of the chapters you're going to read. And it says, all kingdoms under heaven will be handed over to the holy people of the Most High. The reason that I chose that verse, it's not necessarily a verse that probably the first verse this year that I don't already have memorized. But I wanted you to understand that this is a prophecy. Daniel also is known as a prophet. And this is saying that at one point in time, when the new heaven and the new earth come, that every single kingdom under heaven is going to be handed over to God, that God is the one that rules over everything. And there will be a day when everybody that is left here will worship God. So what you need to do on this is your typical bell ringer assignment. I need you to type out the verse and write it on a note card. 2 things, all right? That's important for your memory. Since I don't recite it every day in class, I want you to do that. Make sure you look at the context of the verse, what is happening before and after it. This is the easiest way to do it. I put in Daniel 7:37. Well, I'll just put in Daniel 7 so that we can see exactly where it comes. And it's verse 27 right here. The sovereign power and the greatness of the kingdoms under heaven will be given to the holy people of the Most High. His kingdom will last forever, and all rulers will serve and obey him. Looks like I didn't put the whole thing in here, which means you don't have to memorize the whole thing, because I didn't do that. I'm not going to change it. So what's the context of this? You're going to have to look a little bit before and a little bit after. So we see here that Daniel was explaining this particular vision, and he's talking about he's talking about the future. What does this verse mean to you? Make sure you put that as a private comment before you hit submit. That's the very first thing you should do. Do that first. Second is your reading assignment. And now this is in Daniel this week. This is your largest assignment, all right? I'm going to walk through it so that you don't get confused. But it is much larger than the video assignment. You have 2 videos here. If you want to do the videos first, that's totally fine with me. But this one is only 3 minutes. This one is only 5 minutes. So they're very short. So most of your bulk of your assignment is in your reading. And this is what I want you to do. Open up this reading reflection. This is a document that I wrote. And it's going to walk you through exactly what to do for week 15. Daniel chapter 2, are you using your abilities to make much of you? And this is a link. If you can see, my little cursor makes a link. So click this link and read Daniel chapter 2, are you using your abilities to make much of you? So you click the link. All right. And this is a study. You can see right here the book of Daniel. And this is what I want you to do along with this part of Daniel. So this is right here just asking you to actually read this little blog entry. That's as long as it is. It's not very long. It has to do with this part of Daniel. So you click that first and you read these few chapters, this little section. It's part of Daniel 2. You don't really have to reread it because you read that last week, but you may want to breeze over it so you can answer these questions. And then it says we all know people who are naturally good at certain things, and he kind of talks about it. And then there's some reflection questions. And this is what I want you to do on this sheet of paper. And if you want to print it off, I have made some copies that are already in class. When was the last time someone complimented you on something you do well, and how did you respond? So I want you to answer that. How might God want to work through that talent or ability to build his kingdom? I want you to answer that. Hopefully it's not too foreign. I talk about this a lot in class, that God made you and there's something beautiful he put inside of you, and you need to do that thing and do it well. So then after you answer those 2 questions, you come to Daniel 3. Click and read this link. Daniel 3, what happens when you stand up for your faith. You also can hit next session. All right, this says, what happens when you stand up for your faith? Read Daniel 3, which you read that last week, but this was just a really good one. It's imagine the conflict on Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as they wrestled with whether to stand or to kneel. And so it's kind of talking about this. To the world, suffering is all pain, no gain, but to God there's no pain without gain. And so here are the 2 reflection questions. I want you to answer them as well. Are you in a situation where you feel like you're choosing between God and others? Who do you think would be directly impacted by your faith to listen to God? So answering this in Daniel 2 and this in Daniel 3, you should have that done the first day. So I suggest having your memory verse done and at least through this Daniel 2 and 3 before day 1 is over, and hopefully you're into Daniel 4. Now when you get to this part, you can see this is what's different. Number 7 says, read Daniel chapter 4. So you need to make sure that you go to Daniel chapter 4 and you read it. And this is Nebuchadnezzar's dream about a tree. I've already pulled this up once. So you need to read the chapter. Daniel then explains the dream. Oh, Click the link. Sorry that my internet's going a little bit slow. It's unusual. And here is the little reflection on Daniel 4. You can see it's right here. How to know pride is sneaking into your life. So I'm not going to do this. All the sections don't have this, and I'm not going to do this for Daniel next week. But I read some of these, and I just felt like that they were really good and very practical, and I wanted you all to read them. And basically, when you read Daniel 4, it's a little confusing, all right? And so this is going to help you understand exactly what's going on in that chapter. Rather than you doing a storyboard and trying to figure it out for yourself, this sort of helps walk you through it, and then also shows how can you apply it to your life. So this reflection part is really kind of like the life lesson. So I want you to answer those. Again, this is the majority of your work this week. So you'll do the same thing for Daniel chapter 4, and then I sort of realized this was getting to be a lot, so I put 5 and 6 together. So you'll only answer questions about Daniel 6, and then finally Daniel 7. And that is going to be the end of that. So my suggestion, have this this Daniel 2, Daniel 3, done by day 1. Day 2, go through Daniel 4, 5, and 6, and 7. Do all those in the second day. And then your third day, I would suggest working on these video assignments. You just, complete a dialectical journal from each of these short videos. So click the link. This is just a really short video about when they were in the fiery furnace. You can see it just explains the video. And then the Way of the Exile is a Bible Project video. When you do the dialectical journal, just a reminder, what you're going to need to do is find 3 interesting things in the Burn You Up video, and you won't really need to cite it. If you're citing a video, what you do is you cite this where it is found, like at 1 minute and 36 seconds is where this verse or quote is found. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it is important for you to know. Then you need to write some insight about it. What do you find interesting? Now, I understand on these short videos, your dialectical journals may be sort of slim. That's fine, but I still want 3 insights with several sentences correlating with each one. So you'll do a dialectical journal for Fuse, Burn Us Up, and a dialectical journal for the Way of the Exile. This assignment altogether shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. It's only a 3-minute video. Spend another few minutes doing that. Your forum post has this question, what lessons about humility? Let's go ahead and, I don't want to edit it, but here, this is what it looks like. What lessons about humility had God taught Nebuchadnezzar that Belshazzar had not learned? What mistakes have your parents or maybe others have talked about personally making with the idea of warning you not to do what they did, and how effective was the lesson? So this first part, this first question actually is a question on this right here. So once you open up these assignments and complete them, then you will have the answer to the first part of this question, and then the second one is really a life application. Like, people sometimes give us lessons and tell us, don't do this is what I did, don't do it. And sometimes we listen to them and sometimes we don't. So I'm asking what's an example of that, and that's going to be real interesting when you click reading the answers from each of your classmates, and you do need to respond to two of them, because hopefully you'll get to see some other lessons that people should have learned from or should have listened to help save you some time. All right, your worksheet assignments. I would save this for day 3. Remember, there are 4 days here. Day 3, these shouldn't take too long. The first 2 are just your typical bell ringer assignment. Read this little page, answer those 3 questions, again right here on the fall of Babylonia. But then this assignment right here is arrogance versus humility, and it says learning lessons from Belshazzar. This is from Daniel chapter 5. So if you want to kind of take a note that when you're doing Daniel chapter 5 from this right here, then you may want to go ahead and complete this assignment because it's already on your mind. See, read Daniel 5, 26 to 28. It's got a lot of space, but you don't have to expand that much on the questions. I really just want you to read the questions and come up with a short answer. and do them. That's what I'm looking for. And then again, your weekly assessment and prayer, I will give you time to do that on day 4, right before we have our heartness discussion. Now, just a reminder that this week, our heartness discussion is going to be around the round table. So you may be having heartness on day 3 rather than day 4. Therefore, I suggest still make sure you have your memory verse and most of your reading done, and possibly 1 or 2 of the video assignment, those 2 short little videos. I would have at least most of your reading done before day 3 so that you have some content in order to fully participate in the heartness discussion. I'm not sure which folks in Daniel will be doing their heartness on day 3 and which ones will be doing it on day 4, but some of you will be doing both because we want to make sure that Daniel gets in that conversation. I think that's all that I have, and let me know if you guys have any questions.